Hello, my gorgeous ones. Welcome to another declutter with Alicia Budget Beauty. Today we are decluttering foundations, concealers, setting sprays, primers, and powders. So let's go ahead and get started with the foundations. All right, first up we have this Wonder Woman Kiko Milano foundation. Now, this was actually a very long-lasting foundation. I did use this when we went to Disney World 2 or 3 years ago, I believe, and it was perfect for a really hot, humid climate. But I really haven't used it since then. It is pretty matte, and I just don't really need a foundation like this very often. Plus, it's obviously expired if I used it that long ago. This was special edition, and it was actually an amazing collection. So I'd like to see Kiko Milano come out with more foundations that are really good, but maybe just not so matte. All right, next up we have the Skinfinite foundation by Chic Glam. This was their second foundation they came out with after their original, which is said to be like a soft matte, but I really find that one to be a very natural, beautiful finish. This one I didn't really enjoy, even though I do have dry skin. It just didn't sit well on my face, so that is why I'm letting it go. Now the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop Full Coverage. I didn't mind this one. It's just a little too cakey for me. I did combine it with more luminous skin tints, things like that, moisturizing, tinted moisturizers, and that helped. But I just don't wear a full coverage matte foundation very often. But if you have very, very oily skin, you might like that one. Now, these three from Wet n Wild are the Dewy, and these used to be my holy grail about 3 or 4 years ago. I loved these so much. I still love how they look on the skin, but I don't know if these got expired or if something just changed for me, but I felt like they were breaking me out every time I used them. So that's why they are going. Now, this is another Kiko Milano. This was a 2-in-1 concealer and foundation, which to me, I think that's kind of gimmicky. I mean, honestly, you could use any foundation also under your eyes. So this one, though, was a little too thick for me, and I just didn't love it. We have this Tarte Amazonian Clayful Coverage Foundation. I used another one of these little sample packs, and I just did not like how it looked on my skin at all. It is too dry for me, so I would never get a regular size. Next, we have these True Skin by Catrice. I wanted to love these. These were so talked about, hyped up, maybe a little over a year ago, but for me, I couldn't find the right tint for my skin. I didn't love how it looked on. It broke up a little bit. It never really settled really nicely into my skin, so that's why it's going away. All right, the Physicians Formula Butter Believe It. I loved this when this very first came out, and I repurchased it several times. But since then, I feel like it sits kind of on top of my skin. It looks pretty from far away, but when I look up close, I can just see it kind of breaking up. There is a lot of oil in the actual bottle. You have to shake it up to distribute it. And I don't know, I just don't really like this one anymore. This was one by Lauren Conrad, and you could get it at Kohl's back in the day. This is no longer a brand. She does not have a beauty brand anymore. It was okay. It really was kind of like a nice summery foundation, but it's several years old. The brand doesn't exist anymore. Okay, then we have the 100% Pure foundation. Now, this is a brand that creates everything out of fruits, which is really, really neat. It's fruit pigmented. This one is pretty oily. You have to have very dry skin, which I do. I didn't really mind the finish of it, but this is just not my shade. It is way too pink, way too deep. So yeah, I don't think that I would repurchase it though. All right, we have one of the worst products I've ever tried in my life. This is the Patrick Ta powder and foundation combo. This was awful. The powder wasn't terrible. It actually was pretty nice, but the foundation part in here is awful. I don't think that my skin has ever looked so bad. I tried it so many times with so many different primers. I've had it for quite a while because I honestly left Patrick Ta's PR program a long time ago, about a year ago. So I've had this for over a year. I've just been meaning to film this video for a long time, but I would not recommend this to anyone. Then we have the MAC Studio Fix Foundation Powder. I'm just not a foundation powder girl. This isn't bad. It's just not my preferred method. I won this in a giveaway a while back, so I just don't have any need for this. All right, now we are going to move on to the concealers. All right, the She Glam concealer is actually really good. I just have a different shade that I like better. It is also massive. I'm not positive they sell it in the same tube anymore. I've had this for honestly probably about 2.5, 3 years, but it actually has really nice coverage. Now this Kimchi concealer, I did not love as a concealer. It was a little bit dry and cakey under the eyes. However, I've been meaning to get one that would be more of a cream contour bronzer type of shade because I think it would work amazing for that. Then we have this Pacifica concealer. I got these in PR, so I got all 5 shades, which was a little ridiculous that they only had 5 shades. This is the one that I really can't do anything with. The others I kept for either concealer, eyeshadow primer, or contouring. So this one just is way too warm. I can't really use it for anything. The JCat concealer is not terrible. It's kind of one of those Tarte Shape Tape type of affordable dupes. It's pretty thick, pretty full coverage, but this color was way too deep for me. I ordered that on Ulta online. Now, I used to love the L'Oreal Infallible. It was another one that was considered a dupe for Tarte Shape Tape. I since don't even really love Tarte Shape Tape myself anymore. I need to work through 2 tubes of it. But the L'Oreal has this horrible chemical smell. Some of them are worse than others. I used to repurchase this, but I just have others that I like so much better now. The Mora concealer, look at this shade. It is just so not my shade. It's very orange. So yeah, and it was just okay. Now the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo and regular Camo concealer, I actually don't like this formula anymore. I never loved it as much as everyone else did, but now I really don't like it. Even the hydrating is just, it cracks under my eyes. It makes my eyes look old, so I will never be purchasing that unless they reformulate. The Incognito by Wet n Wild, I like this concealer. I don't love it. I know a lot of people love it. It's okay. I do have another shade that's more my shade. This one's a little too light. This is another Mora concealer that is a different formula from that other one, but this one is too light, but I did like this one. And then we also have the Lauren Conrad concealer. We've already talked about that brand, that it doesn't exist, and that is expired. All right, now we are moving on to primers and setting sprays. Okay, let's just go ahead and do setting sprays. We'll go a little backwards here. So the Latte London setting spray is supposed to be an illuminating one, and normally I really love setting sprays like that, but this one just felt really drying on my skin. I kept thinking I was crazy. I would try it again, and it's supposed to have these like gold sheen reflect to it, and I usually just love setting sprays like that. This one just didn't work. Now, this Art Naturals makeup setting spray, I used to really like this brand skincare-wise. They actually, I don't know, they had a really hard time getting their products out to people. I had people messaging me a few years ago on Facebook that they never got their products, so I don't really purchase from them anymore. Plus, this setting spray had such a strong kind of hairspray type of fragrance to it that it was very off-putting. Okay, next we have these 2 by Beauty Creations. I went on a setting spray kick a few years ago. I really don't have the need for even how many that I kept. I have so many. These are kind of just gimmicky to me. I thought it would be really neat to have ones that smelled like coconut and strawberry, but now I realize these are just added fragrances that probably aren't too good for my skin. The Milani Make It Dewy used to be an absolute favorite of mine. Now I feel like it makes my skin a little too greasy. I used to love it so much, but the last several times I try to wear it, it gets in my hair. It makes my hair greasy. I have to really like set it back down with powder, which kind of negates the whole reason behind the setting spray. So it's just not a favorite anymore. I did actually kind of like this Revlon Photo Ready. It's near empty actually, but I decided to just finally let it go because I've had it for so long, but it wasn't bad. It has cucumber in it. I mainly used it as a spray for my eyeshadow, like my shimmers. So it's not bad. All right, then we have the primers. This got a dog hair. This No Pore Problem by Touch of Soul. I used to love this. I don't know if it went bad. I mean, you can kind of see that it looks thicker than it normally does. I think this was my second bottle. I did start to notice breakouts, so I just don't know if maybe it expired. Maybe my skin changed, but I probably won't purchase it again just in case. This Essence High Beauty was one of their hemp products a while back. Honestly, this is expired too. I think it was at least 2 years ago that I had this, maybe even longer. I felt like it broke me out. I felt like any hemp face products broke me out. So I guess my skin doesn't do well with it. The Impossible Primer is one of those kind of silicone-y feeling primer. It says silicone free, but it felt silicone-y to me. I just didn't love this. I didn't feel like my makeup sat well on top. I do really love their Glass Skin primer that is yellow. I like the green one that's correcting. I just don't love this one. Now these are all the same. It's a Photo Finish primer by Smashbox. I know everyone loves this one. For me, it breaks me out, unfortunately. I do think I'll be receiving some Smashbox pretty soon here in PR, which is kind of fun for me because this is a brand that I really liked maybe 10 years ago that is trying to come back. So hopefully I'll like some new stuff, but I just don't love the primer. All right, lastly, we have the powders that I'm decluttering. Now, first up, we have this collab powder. This is one that Juicy Jazz had always recommended, and you get it at Sally's Beauty Supply. I think it's still available. I honestly haven't been in there in about 2 years, but I didn't love this. It's not milled finely enough for me. Kind of cool packaging, but just not a favorite. This Cover FX was a tad drying on me. It's not terrible, but for my dry skin, it just didn't cut it. Now, this is a cult classic, the Peach Perfect by, oh my gosh, my dog hairs. Okay, the Peach Perfect by Too Faced is a classic, and this was a favorite, a cult favorite that they've since discontinued. I have another one that is not even 3/4 of the way gone, and I've had it for so long. It truly lasts forever. It's actually a beautiful setting powder. I just don't need another full-size one of this. I bought it as a backup 2 years ago because I couldn't really find it anymore, and I haven't even gone through my first one. So I'm going to go ahead and probably sell this maybe. All right, then we have this NARS powder. This is just too light for me, one, and I just didn't really love how it looked on the skin. I felt like it really dried out my under eyes. Next, we have these 3 by Hard Candy. Now, honestly, I really like all 3 of these a lot. So this is the cooling one that literally feels like cool water when you put it on the skin. This was the Marilyn Monroe, and then we had this Banana Bake yellow one. The reason why I'm getting rid of these, one is this has kind of gone bad. It's like chunky now. I don't know if it's because it's a hydrating powder, and I had it for over 2 years. So, and that's probably why. This is also probably close to 3 years old, if not older. Same thing with this one. They just expired. They're not performing well anymore, but they used to perform really well. We have these 2 banana powders here. One is from Romantic Beauty, one is from Beauty Creations. Kind of funny that they're in the same type of container. It makes me wonder. I know Romantic Beauty is a wholesale private label, but it kind of makes me wonder now if Beauty Creations is as well because it's the exact same type of packaging. I'm just not as much of a banana powder girl anymore. My absolute favorite is by Mora Cosmetics. It's a pressed powder. Their banana finishing powder, it's my #1, so I really don't need those. We have this Real Her Set Your Goal Blurring Veil. Honestly, this performs amazing. It is such a good powder. I just think it's not the right shade for me. It's a little too deep, a little too warm, but this is beautiful in its finish. So I would definitely get a shade more my skin tone. These two by AOA Studio Shop Miss A, they only cost $1 and they are decent, but I just have ones I like a lot better. And even though it's cheap, I would just rather wear the ones that I like better. All right, then we have this, came from Temu. It is this purple finishing powder. I thought I would use this as a blush, but it was actually way too light as a blush, but didn't really work with my skin tone. It is supposed to be a finishing powder and do whatever like a lavender powder would do. On me, it just slightly shows up too much as a powder and then not enough as a blush. This Juvia's Place powder, I really did not like at all. Maybe this is better suited for more oily skin. It's too drying for me. And then this last powder, it came in some subscription that I used to get in PR that I decided I didn't want anymore. And this is from Aqualon. That is a private label. They do actually have some pretty good products, but cute little packaging, but the powder is just too deep and I just don't need it. All right, you guys, that is all of my complexion products declutter. Thank you for being here and love you guys.